Part 153. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1531. When Wu Yu disappeared in the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square, and then the entire immortal Dragon Emperor realm could no longer find him, everyone knew that if they missed this opportunity, the giant spirit god, the Northern Yin Fengdu Emperor and others would never be able to catch him again. Such a solution was unbelievable and unacceptable to them. When Wu Yu disappeared, many of them were like crazy, searching around frantically, but they soon figured it out. The giant spirit god, the Northern Yin Fengdu Emperor, Bai Vuqian, and others looked at Luo Bin with sharp eyes. They might want to use Luo Bin to threaten Wu Yu to come out again. But except for the Tianxin Dragon Emperor, the other 8 Dragon Emperors directly intercepted Luo Bin. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow diamondsuit. Before, the Tianxin Dragon Emperor got ahead, and now, they can't say anything, and lose the opportunity to take care of Luo Bin. We know what you are thinking, but forget it. From now on, she is the key character we protect. No one in the entire Tiangong immortal realm can touch her. The Dragon Emperors also expressed their attitudes. Dad, did Tian die in vain? Tianyi Dragon King's face was pale. That's not right. Accept your fate. This little Wu Yu is very capable, and he has such a mysterious weapon. That monkey must be his successor, maybe the eternal Emperor Demon. Tianxin Dragon Emperor's face was gloomy. Today, his luck is bad enough. In fact, Wu Yu himself did not want such a change. He was just a little embarrassed, but the real shame was the giant spirit god and the others. They had already captured a small realm master god, and planned to torture him for 600,000 years, but Wu Yu escaped. If it gets out, it will be a laughing stock. The funniest thing is that because they were too arrogant, they did not take Wu Yu's 10th grade Immortal King Seal in time, and now they don't even get the 10th grade Immortal King Seal. The giant spirit god could almost imagine that if he went out from here, he would hear the entire Tiangong fairyland, billions of gods and ghosts laughing at him. In their rage, their eyes were locked on Nangong Wei. Yuanzu Huangdi, can you ask Huao Huangjun if there is any clue about Wu Yu? Before asking, Yuanzu Huangdi said, I think it's better to forget it. He has been caught, but he is not under control. If you really hate him, just kill him next time you catch him. The giant spirit god wanted to do it now, but the opportunity was lost. Nangong Wei's eyes were still burning with flames. She shook her head blankly and said, there is no way anyway, you know his identity, you can find it yourself in the future. After that, she said to Yuanzu Huangdi, Mother, I don't like it here, let's go back first. Yuanzu Huangdi nodded. She felt something was wrong and wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Anyway, she didn't lose anything this time. Nangong Wei suddenly, Luo Bin called out, causing Huo Wu Huangjun to stop. She did not look back. You will regret this, Luo Bin said calmly. Wu Yu was safe now, but he had been tortured before. She engraved it in her mind and could not forget it at all. Nangong Wei did not respond. Her eyes became more and more confused, and then she waited for Yuanzu Huangdi to leave here first. Seeing that everything was over, there was no need for other guests to stay here, and they dispersed one by one. Then Wu Yu might have the inheritance of an immortal emperor, or an immortal emperor demon. Although this person may not be alive, he seems to have the ability to let him escape, and he is also ever-changing. He must not have the slightest chance of escaping, said the heavenly King Chiguo. The giant spirit god said in a low voice, I know, now he is alert, I am afraid that only Erlang Shen's eyes can find him. Next time he finds him, he must not have the slightest chance. This time, he was still careless. In fact, they had no way to comfort each other. They had not seized the great opportunity this time. Even if it was not the giant spirit god, they would have been secretly ridiculed. As for the purpose of killing the chicken to scare the monkey, they not only failed to achieve it, but also became a joke. What they didn't know was that after they left, a dark shadow gradually appeared in the mist near the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square. He stroked his long beard, his expression excited, and said, "After endless years, they finally returned, but in different identities." His voice sounded full of expectations for the future. Of course, after the deepest expectations, there was a hint of worry. Such a person, even the 9 Dragon Emperors seemed to be unaware of his existence. Wu Yu came out of the immortal Dragon Emperor realm in a blink of an eye, and this time he appeared directly in the Well of Eternal Life. As long as he entered the Well of Eternal Life, he was basically safe. He quickly changed his appearance, used another identity, and then went to the upper heavenly palace. Now, the Ruyi Jingbang has disappeared, and the body has recovered as before, and there is no trace of the previous one on the body. After swallowing an evil spirit, the power has not been fully digested. This evil spirit is enough to completely replenish Wu Yu's loss. "Uncle Sun? Are you still there?" Wu Yu tried to call, but there was no movement. He was a little disappointed, thinking that he would be able to communicate from now on. Moreover, he still didn't understand what state the Monkey King was in, whether he was dead or alive. Strangeness. After a long time, there was still no response, so he gave up. Because he knew that he was not out of danger yet, so what was the top priority? This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Nangongwei doesn't know about my sister and the others. They can continue to practice in the Tiangong. But Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi, she may know that these 2 guys are also relatively shining. I'd better join them as soon as possible. As for the concubine Luo who had just worshipped, they could only part ways for the time being. Of course Wu Yu was reluctant to part with her, but there was nothing he could do about it. He sent messenger talismans to Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi and asked them questions. It turned out that they were all near 4,000 heavens. Wu Yu asked them to meet up first, and then went to find them himself. Soon after, Wu Yu found them. After finding them, he immediately pushed them into the floating tower first. "Boss, what happened? This is your wedding night. If you don't enjoy the night with the great beauty Luo Ben, what are you doing with me? I'd rather be straight than crooked, but I can't serve you," Nanshan Wanjiao exaggerated. Said. "Shut your stinky mouth. With your looks, you're just as good as feeding pigs," Yezixi said. "You dare to laugh at us pigs." The 2 of them were very relaxed, but they didn't know that Wu Yu was almost in disaster just now. Wu Yu was calm now and explained to them in detail what had happened before. "Damn it, no way. A big palace fight? Nangong Weiniu, what she can't get will be destroyed." When Nanshan Wanjiao heard the exposure, she was paralyzed with fear. That was in a group of immortals. In front of the Emperor Immortal. Yezixi frowned and said, "No, I don't think Sister Nangongwei is such a person. Is it possible that she is controlled by Lord Huahuang again?" Wu Yu shook his head. He knew clearly that it was Nangongwei. His intuition was unmistakable. Her eyes and movements were not those of Lord Huahuang. Nanshan looked at the moon and said, "Girl, you are still too young. You don't understand a woman's heart and the needle on the seabed." Wu Yu continued, and they were also curious about how Wu Yu came out alive. When they heard that the Ruyi golden cudgel appeared, they were all shocked. "Appeared? Then why didn't I, the Grand Marshal of the Canopy, appear?" "Me too, I haven't communicated at all," Yezixi asked. Wu Yu frowned and said, "The most important thing is the content of what he said. Old friends, puppets, empty shells. Do you know what they mean?" He had already communicated with Ming Long and couldn't figure it out. The 2 thought for a long time. Could it be that these gods are all fake now? How is it possible? They have all existed well for countless years, and each of them is in line with the strength. There is nothing strange about us. But we ourselves seem strange. So what about Kishan Dida, Holy, Grand Marshal Canopy, General Rolling Curtain? I have inquired about it, and after chasing for hundreds of dollars, these three characters, and only Dragon Ancestor, do not exist at all, but there are very few rumors. It is said that a long time ago appeared. This is completely confusing. Wu Yu has been in contact with these immortal emperors. He knows how scary they are. They can't be fake. As for the puppets, he can't explain. They are all good, and they even have disputes with each other. If they are puppets, then whose puppets are they? Anyway, I can't figure it out. Are these four inheritors too old? Yezixi was also puzzled. Wu Yu was also puzzled. If that's the case, then we probably have better not show up anymore. Now that even the immortal emperor has been offended, we might as well practice in seclusion and wait until we become the immortal king before we come out to play. Unfortunately, my 100,000s of people were killed. It was almost completed. Wu Yu was speechless at Nanshan Wanjiu's perversion. Aren't you afraid that your descendants will be everywhere? Don't worry, I won't leave any noble seed behind, Nanshan Wanjiu chuckled. Garbage, Yezixi has become numb after getting along with him. He is simply a sewing machine. Wu Yu also remembered something, and he said, I seem to have heard him say that the demon god realm has been destroyed, and according to their opinion, the demon god realm does not belong to the heavenly palace immortal realm, but the 9 infants went to the demon god realm. What's going on? All demons in the mortal world will go to the world of demons and gods after becoming immortals. He clapped his hands and said, the heavenly palace is not safe now. I suddenly remembered that I found some strange places in the ancient demon world last time. Do you want to go and see them? It can be considered as a temporary escape from the giant spirit god and the others. Let's go. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1532. Before heading to the ancient demon world, Wu Yu first said goodbye to his brothers and sisters in the ancient Mo camp. Anyway, now the identity has been exposed. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. In these days, his name has replaced the Chifeng Immortal Lord and spread throughout the Heavenly Palace Immortal Realm, including the 8,000 Heavenly Palaces and the 10,000 Hells. Everyone knows the true identity of Chifeng Immortal Lord. Everyone knows that Wu Yu even transformed into the Tiang Dragon King, assumed his identity, and stayed under the eyes of Tianxin Dragon Emperor for such a long time. Even if he was caught in the end, he actually escaped directly in front of the giant spirit god and a group of immortal emperors and immortals. All this is simply unbelievable. But Wu Yu did it. Moreover, there were also 5 holy emperors present, but none of them seemed to be able to stop Wu Yu. After the news spread, Wu Yu immediately caused a sensation in the world. This title is simply unprecedented. His previous name as Chifeng Immortal Lord was already resounding enough. Now, after people listen to it, their worldview has been completely changed. Moreover, it has only been spread a little now. As time goes by, a group of immortal emperors and immortals have discussed punishing Wu Yu for millions of years, but let him escape. Such breaking news will cause an even greater sensation. From today on, Wu Yu's name will be famous in heaven. There are several versions of the story about how he escaped. People don't know which version to believe. When this news came out, it also triggered a wave of gods and ghosts looking for Wu Yu, because people knew that the 10th grade Immortal King seal was still in Wu Yu's hands. Just because everything has been exposed, Wu Yu and his brothers from Gu Mo Ying have nothing to hide. He has already made it clear to them. In the past, I was afraid that others would follow Gu Moying's identity and find me. Now that my identity is exposed, I don't need to worry. It's time to let them go free. I'm really sorry to have you follow me for so long, Wu Yu said. Su Zidong smiled and bent over, saying, "Don't think too much, it's all a simple effort for us, but you have prepared so many treasures for us, don't blame me now, we should be happy." Yang Wenlin said, "Don't be polite to us. You have solved the immortal king seal of each of us. Why are you being polite? It is our honor to know a being like you. You will become famous in the future, but don't forget these brothers and sisters." Of course not. They knew that it was inconvenient for Wu Yu to stay here for too long, so as not to let his enemies find clues again, so after a brief farewell, they sent Wu Yu away together. "We will also remain anonymous and practice in hiding. Tens of thousands of years later, when the news has subsided, we will come out again. Then we will meet for a drink," Su Zidong said. "No problem, be safe." They also knew the seriousness of Wu Yu's matter, and it was the immortal emperor who was offended. After leaving them, Wu Yu was also preparing to go to the ancient demon world. The ancient demon world is a difficult place to reach. Relatively speaking, it should be safer than any other place in heaven. He has opened the door to the ancient demon world and is ready to enter it with Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi. However, looking at this vast fairyland, he felt a little reluctant to give up. 8,000 Heavenly Palace, one day, I will return in an upright manner. Then, he thought of the immortal Dragon Emperor realm and Luo Bai, who had just gotten married to him not long ago. She was already his wife. "You and I are already husband and wife, but we still have to be torn apart and cannot be together anymore. Wait for me, there will be a day when no one can stop me from accompanying you and cultivating immortality together." Wu Yu deeply remembers those people who forced him to leave, whether it was Nangong Wei who came to harm him for no reason and almost made him doomed, or the giant spirit god and others. Passing through the gate of the ancient demon world, Wu Yu and the three of them arrived at the ancient demon world. This primitive jungle has a different flavor compared to the heaven filled with fairy spirit. After staying in the 8,000 heavenly palace for a long time, the wonderful nature is better. Yezixi opened her arms and felt the earthy smell. "Fart, there isn't even a sow in this shitty place, what's the point?" Nanshan Wanjiao rolled his eyes. Shameless person, no pursuit at all. Yezixi was too lazy to pay attention to him. She had made great progress recently. After coming here, she can no longer use the immortal transformation talisman. After removing the immortal transformation talisman, her dark and cold temperament was revealed. Having received the same top-level inheritance, she is actually extraordinarily beautiful now. She is just not as mature as Luo Bin, but more agile. She is young and has a cold temperament. It is somewhat similar to Moug. Of course, she is a pure ghost and god, but she still has a dark power that is different from that of a fairy, making her appear even more mysterious. It was only when she was in front of Wu Yu and the others that her personality became slightly more active. After arriving in the ancient demon world, it should be basically left to the heaven to deal with all the troubles. Wu Yu had not made any progress in the past 10,000 years. In fact, he had been accumulating for a long time. In addition, he had swallowed the evil spirit last time and had actually continued to surge in strength. He planned to practice freely first. He had never had this opportunity during the tens of thousands of years he had been in the immortal Dragon Emperor realm. Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi were also impatient to ask Wu Yu to give them more inheritance. After leaving Wu Yu, their speed slowed down. In 10,000 years, they only made one progress. Therefore, they did not rush to figure out the situation of the sea in the mountain and mountain in the sea in this ancient demon world, but calmed down to make progress. Wu Yu's ancient immortal pattern of Tao was integrated into the source of the world one after another, and in a blink of an eye, he reached the eighth way of time speed change. Without the pressure of time, progress seemed easier. After all, he had settled down for a long time. The last 10,000 years were spent thinking, not putting it into experiments. Now, it is not difficult to practice again. Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi have accumulated a lot of problems in these 10,000 years. The way of practice of the three of them is originally the same. At this time, they came to Wu Yu to solve their doubts. Regarding their doubts, there is always someone who knows the answer among the immortal kings and ghost kings that Wu Yu devoured. Wu Yu gave these memories to them and let them absorb them themselves. The turmoil in the heavenly palace was left to brew, and they practiced here with great concentration for hundreds and thousands of years. Finally, after 1,000 years, Wu Yu made progress again, integrating the way of time-speed change into the core of the immortal world, and reached the 8th level of the Realm Master. Before that, his Vajra world power, the physical world realm, had stepped into the 8th level in advance, so now, it is basically a double 8th level, a double 8 realm immortal. It is only one step away from the final 9 realm immortal. Then he waited for Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi for a while he was thinking about the magical powers and the Thunder Flame Emperor God Pillar in his hand. If I had known that I would be discovered, I would not have thrown away the treasures I got in hell. In that case, I can still give them some good things now. After a few hundred years, Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi, with the help of Wu Yu's inheritance, successively entered the realm of 7 realm immortal lord. Their inheritance also has many means, which are quite top level. In this way, I am afraid that the 2 heavenly immortal kings may not be their opponents. I'm afraid that they can barely fight with the Dragon King of the Heaven. This strength is considered quite strong in heaven or hell. Although the 3 of them are young, they have all obtained top-level inheritance. After working hard for so long, I finally caught up with you a little bit. I hope I can help. You know, Nanshan Wanjiao couldn't help when he was in the Taixu Immortal Road. They have been in the Fusion Tower for much longer than Wu Yu. 100 times of time, plus Wu Yu's inheritance, have made them what they are today. 10,000 years of mortal experience have allowed them to settle down and achieve a true transformation in their realm. If it weren't for Wu Yu, they would now be considered people who can make a sensation in heaven in terms of talent. With this kind of strength, it is difficult to make progress in a short time. Wu Yu was ready. After the 3 of them agreed, they went to one of the 2 yin and yang fisheyes. After selecting, they chose the sea in the mountain on the mainland. It was a vast sea at the position of the fisheye, very mysterious, and it was said that it was full of fog. The demon gods before basically could not get close to it. When Wu Yu was in this ancient demon world before, he was not a god, so many things could not be seen through. This time, the 3 of them just approached the sea in the mountain and saw that the deep mountains ahead were full of fog and mist. The water droplets changed in the air, and their trajectories were incredible. Sometimes they went up, sometimes they went left. Billions of water droplets, but each trajectory was different, but none of them collided with each other. I didn't expect that in this tiny world, there would be a fairy formation close to the Era God formation. Such a top-level Taixu fairy formation is really hard to break. Nanshan Wanjiao observed for a while. Wu Yu nodded and said, that further proves that there are secrets here. And they are unknown. It seems that there is only one entrance to the ancient demon world, which is the gate of the ancient demon world. This may mean that no gods from heaven or ghosts from hell have been here for a long time. That makes sense. The key is, how to break it? This fairy formation is weird and unpredictable. It is not known how powerful it is for the time being. You will know after you go in and try it. You go into the floating life tower first, and I will go in first. If something unexpected happens, it will be easier to escape, Wu Yu said. Okay. After all, Wu Yu's somersault cloud is the most convenient for escaping. When he was left alone, he used the law of heaven and earth to make his body extremely small, and then quickly approached. In the blink of an eye, he entered the fairy formation. Because his body became smaller, each water drop was now equivalent to the size of his head. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1533. Nothing. He thought that as soon as he came in, he would immediately cause a violent storm in the fairy formation. But unexpectedly, it didn't happen. He used his fiery eyes to shuttle among billions of water drops and observe. This place should be the sea in the mountain. Is the so-called sea these water drops, or is there really a large ocean in a certain location? For the time being, Wu Yu can only doubt. Now, these water drops in front of him attracted his attention. He found that every water droplet, like alive, would actively bypass him and not touch him, and there would be no collision between any two. I don't believe it, I can't touch it. Wu Yu suddenly increased his speed and hit one of the water drops. Whoosh! Never expected that just when he was about to touch the water droplet, suddenly, the water droplet actually dodged at a faster speed. It didn't even let it touch. Unbelievable. Wu Yu was very surprised, which made him a little curious about what would happen if he touched these water drops. He had shrunk his body before because he was worried about being touched. Now that it didn't matter, he expanded rapidly. In this ancient demon world, he could fully display his abilities. He used the law of heaven and earth to expand his body rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a supergiant between heaven and earth. But the problem was that even if his body became bigger, those water drops were still flying around him in chaos. Not a single drop fell on him. I don't believe it. He began to speed up and charged within the range of the immortal formation with such a big body, but he still couldn't touch it. The speed of those water drops was terrifying. On the contrary, he couldn't touch it no matter what. After a period of rushing forward, he found that he was completely lost. He kept distributing the directions of east, south, west, north, and even couldn't tell up, down, left, and right. He was completely suspended and couldn't even tell whether he was standing upright or upside down. Boom. Of course, in addition to being unable to touch them with his physical body, he could trap some water droplets and even impact them by using some realm master magic, but these water droplets were extremely tough, and even if he used the fire eyes and golden pupils, he could not refine them completely. You guys come out and try. Since it was not dangerous for the time being, Wu Yu asked Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi to come out. The three of them had the same doubts. They did not dare to separate too far. They wandered around in the range of these water droplets. At this time, they were completely lost and could not get out no matter which direction they went. I think I know a lot about the psychedelic fairy formation, but I didn't expect that I still couldn't figure it out. Nanshan Wanjiao put away his carelessness and was still quite serious. They tried every way, but they couldn't touch the water droplets, let alone find anything in this fairy formation. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye, and there was no progress. At this time, even if Wu Yu used the somersault cloud to jump, it seemed that he could not get out of this range. He completely lost his sense of direction and was trapped in this endless water droplet. The key is that his body still can't touch the water droplets. Those water droplets are extremely flexible and unpredictable. In addition to using magical powers and the magic of the Realm Master to attack, there is no other way to get close. So far, the water droplets are still endless. I think the only breakthrough is that our bodies can touch these water droplets. Nanshan Wanjiao pondered and gave a definite answer. Now there is something strange about the water droplets, which can only be felt in this way. Okay. Next, the main energy will be focused on the only direction, that is, touching the water droplets. Apart from this, there is no other way. The three began to use their own methods to capture those flexible water droplets. Wu Yu used the somersault cloud to change his shape and shadow, and he didn't expect that the water droplets were so fast that even his shape-shifting could not catch up. It was as if they hated Wu Yu and his body very much. As long as they appeared, the water droplets automatically ran away. Billions of water droplets could not touch a single water droplet. Changing shape and shadow didn't work, and Wu Yu was also thinking of other ways. He had already used all the skills he could use. Even his body had changed to the maximum. It seemed that he could touch it at any time, but once he got close, the water droplets would flee immediately. However, when he had no other options, Yezixi used her own skills to successfully touch the water droplets. Because she could turn into black sand, the water droplets did not seem to repel the sand so much, as if they had relaxed their vigilance, and suddenly gave them an opportunity. When she gradually formed a barrier of black sand and trapped many water droplets in it, she suddenly closed it and changed into her own body. At this time, the water droplets were already trapped in her body. Trapped in the body, it basically cannot move. Water droplets touch the body. In this instant, the immortal formation was like unlocked, and a new change occurred. The change was that all the water droplets were completely banned at this moment. In this banned moment, Wu Yu had not yet retracted his previous body and touched thousands of water droplets. I didn't expect that my body would feel a burning pain. Upon closer inspection, I found that although these water droplets looked clean and transparent, they could actually corrode and leave blood holes when they touched my body. Even a tough body like his could be corroded to form blood holes. If it were any other immortal king, it would probably be painful enough. Now, all the water drops are still. Wu Yu's body was corroded, and under the stinging pain, he had an ominous premonition. They did break the immortal formation, but it is very likely that they only broke the first part. These water drops have made Wu Yu feel terrible danger. Come back. He could only summon quickly to let Yezixi and the others return. Then he used the magic of heaven and earth to quickly shrink his huge body. In the blink of an eye, it became extremely small. When Wu Yu had just protected them in the floating life tower, the water drops seemed to come alive at the moment when they had just changed to the smallest size. Before, they were desperately trying to escape and not let Wu Yu and the others touch them. And now, all of them are like crazy, maintaining the previous speed, and actually rushing towards Wu Yu. Hualala! Billions of water drops, like countless poisonous needles, pierced his body. These were water drops that could not be touched before. Now they turned around and targeted them specifically. It was conceivable how difficult it was to resist. Moreover, Wu Yu still remembered clearly that just touching some water drops just now, his flesh was corroded with a lot of blood holes. Fortunately, at this time, his body became the smallest and more flexible. Whoosh! Even so, facing the water drops all over the sky, he could only use the shape-shifting to escape. Those water drops, at this time, did not worry about colliding with each other at all. They even actively collided with each other, forming large pieces of water curtains, and then formed a vast torrent. Then, countless torrents, within a certain range, converged into a vast sea, and swept towards Wu Yu frantically. After converging into a water flow, the only change was that the speed of the water drop slowed down, but the area covered was wider. Whoosh! Facing this overwhelming torrent, Wu Yu used the shape-shifting to instantly break away and reach another location. There were still water drops around him, but the moment he arrived, countless water drops still shot towards him. He could only keep dodging without stopping. I found that I seemed to be able to find the position and direction, Nanshan Wanjiao said in surprise. Wu Yu also found it? This shows that the part of the illusion in the fairy formation just now has been cracked by Yezixi. Although it has become dangerous now, there is hope to continue going down. Danger and hope coexist. Next, Wu Yu kept transferring and letting the water chase him. Fortunately, he was small, otherwise he would have been shot into a sieve. But there were also times when he was unlucky and directly transferred to the torrent. At that moment, he was really worse than death. Half of his flesh and blood were instantly corroded, which could be compared to being swallowed by evil spirits. Fortunately, Wu Yu escaped again in a blink of an eye, and then he had a chance to recover. After escaping, he was more careful, dodging a little, and looking for a breakthrough. He believed that there must be a breakthrough. Any fairy formation has weaknesses and ways to be cracked. His fiery eyes and golden eyes scanned wildly, and he went deep into this place. At this time, the surroundings had begun to become full of water, the water curtain was overwhelming, and even began to gather into lakes and the sea. This amount of water has terrible corrosiveness, and now it has become so vast, it is really terrible. Soon, the ground under his feet has gathered into a lake. Next, it became an endless sea. In the surrounding air, Wu Yu basically walked around, but did not find anything. At this time, he saw that the sea below had gathered. He felt that if there was a breakthrough, it might be in the protected sea below. He thought so. However, as soon as he saw the majestic sea water below, he could only have a headache. Such sea water, if touched, would be quite troublesome. If you want to go in, wouldn't that be courting death? Even if you have an indestructible body, you may not be able to withstand it. He just wanted to know the secret here, so he didn't have to gamble his life here. This is strange. In this ancient demon world, setting up such a fairy formation, what exactly do you want to block? What strange secrets are there? Nanshan Wanjiao asked curiously. I don't know either, and who set it up? The ancient demon world is just an ordinary demon world, nothing special. Why is it different from other small worlds? Anyway, it's very puzzling. Wu Yu couldn't figure it out. Suddenly, he saw that the sea below had changed. A closer look showed that a lot of light was generated in the sea water below, and the outline of the light was a rectangle. It was like a door. And then, next to this door, there was a terrifying breath, awakening, and birth. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1534. Sea in the mountain finally appeared. This sea water looks clear and transparent, but it is actually a nightmare-like killing weapon. If it is slightly stained, it will be bloody. Any armor of the Taixu artifact level can basically collide and penetrate. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Just when Wu Yu was at a loss, this sea in the mountain had a new change. He now quickly reached the top of the rectangular luminous object and just stabilized his body. Suddenly, in an instant, next to this rectangular luminous object, which may be a door, a wild and terrifying aura was born out of nothing. At this time, Wu Yu had already felt this terrifying aura. An undesirable premonition enveloped his heart. There was obviously a giant below. Without saying a word, he flew high into the sky and changed his shape at the same time to avoid the danger that was likely to appear. What is this? Just after leaving the danger zone, the sea water below suddenly rose up, raising waves all over the sky. For a moment, the waves swept, and in the sea that was overturned, the giant creature that suddenly awakened appeared in front of Wu Yu. That was actually a pitch-black giant whale, with pale white spots all over its body, and a pair of blood-red eyes like two blood-red moons, deep and strange, and no change in expression could be seen. Demon god? No. Such a giant beast is rarely seen in heaven and hell. General fairy beasts, such as dragons and phoenixes, are full of fairy spirits, similar to immortals, but with a heavy breath of beasts. But the demon god is completely different. The demon spirit that rises to the sky can completely cover up the fairy spirit. From the outside, the difference between the demon god and the fairy beast is greater than the difference between the fairy beast and the immortal. Although the fairy beast is essentially a kind of demon god, the difference between ghosts and immortals is the same as the difference between demon gods and fairy beasts. Wu Yu hadn't seen a real demon god other than 9 infants for a long time. At the beginning, this giant whale showed a majestic demonic aura. Once it appeared, it could be said that it swept the entire ancient demon world. I'm afraid that in any corner of the ancient demon world, one can feel this uncomfortable, fishy demon god aura. But he found out in a blink of an eye that this demon god was not alive. Although its breath was majestic and its demonic aura was soaring, it was not a living thing. It should be a corpse puppet. Ghosts and gods often make this kind of corpse puppet. It is made of the body of the demon god, retaining part of the strength of the demon god before his death, and becoming a fighting machine with no mind at all, and can only accept specific tasks, Yazixi said hurriedly. Wu Yu had seen corpse puppets before. They were slightly similar to puppets and mechanical beasts. They were all based on special types of immortal formations. Corpse puppets were made of the flesh and blood of the dead strong, as well as the immortal gods, demon souls, and ghosts that had not been dispersed. They were sealed and made by special methods, while puppets were made of special treasure materials. Relatively speaking, because the corpse puppet itself is the corpse of a strong man, if the power loss is not serious, it will obviously be stronger. General corpse puppets have old and stiff bodies, but this black giant whale seems very fresh, just like it just died. No wonder I thought it was a demon god at first, Nanshan Wanjiao said after observation. Wu Yu also discovered that it was just as if it had just died. He wondered, it has been here for such a long time, it can't be a demon god that has just died. I guess there is some special way to keep the body of this corpse puppet fresh, so as to preserve the maximum combat power. How fresh is the body of this corpse puppet? Wu Yu's swallowing of the sky-swallowing beast can only be effective if it swallows the fresh flesh and blood body that has just died, and the corpse of this black giant whale is so fresh that even swallowing it will be effective. However, this demon god must have been dead for many tens of thousands of years. So, this is an unsolved mystery for them. However, they didn't have much time to be puzzled, because the black giant whale corpse puppet had already set its sights on them. As a guard here, the black giant whale's mission was obviously to deal with intruders like Wu Yu. Danger! The next moment, the black giant whale attacked them. Not only was he terrifying, he could even control the sea in the mountain. Countless waves surged around him, but they did not affect him at all. And these splashing water droplets also caused a lot of trouble for Wu Yu and his team. Fortunately, they did not lose their way at this time and could retreat. Without saying anything, he ran away first. After all, he didn't know what the black giant whale was like. And he guessed that the sea in the mountain was in a fixed position. If there was no water, the black giant whale might be a little easier to deal with. It depends on whether it will follow him out. Crash! Sure enough, when Wu Yu fled, the black giant whale soared into the sky and chased after Wu Yu. It roared fiercely. Such a giant beast shook the entire ancient demon world. With one roar, the mountains and rivers shook, the seas were turbulent, and the whole world was in a terrible storm. Amid the collapse of the sky and the crack of the earth, the giant whale was still chasing Wu Yu. It seemed that the entire ancient demon world was its territory. Wu Yu did not hesitate and continued to walk away. In a blink of an eye, the giant whale left the range of the mountain sea. It did not bring much sea water. It seemed that it was arrogant. After all, the corpse puppet was a corpse puppet. It was indeed a fighting machine, but it was undeniable that if the maker was not around, it would not be very smart. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. When he left the mountain sea just now, Wu Yu was no longer so afraid of the strength of the giant whale. During this process, he had fought against the giant whale. Although he was indeed suppressed by the giant whale, Wu Yu could find hope to fight against it. And he had helpers. Although Nanshan Wanjiao and Yazixi were a little weaker in absolute strength, their respective magical powers were quite powerful. For example, Heavenly Domain No Trace, Demon Shadow Black Sand, etc. At least they could protect themselves, and it was not a big problem. Moreover, the two of them had cultivated the 9-turn Emperor immortal body and the Hell reincarnation body to a very deep level. Whoosh! At the moment when Wu Yu suddenly stopped, Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi had already flown out of the fusion tower. Wu Yu was not sure about his own situation, so he could only rely on them to assist him. Although the three of them had the same inheritance, they rarely joined forces to fight against the enemy. Wu Yu attracted the main attention of the giant whale. At this time, he used the law of heaven and earth to suddenly transform into a giant, and then used the fairy ape transformation to produce countless golden monkey hairs. With the Thunder Flame Emperor God Pillar in his hand, he was already quite similar to the Monkey King. Such a huge golden ape, of course, made the black giant whale focus on him. As for Nanshan Wanjiao, this smart guy, he had already started to use the heaven realm no trace to hide, but he would definitely entangle this opponent at the critical moment and give Wu Yu some help. Get him! The three joined forces. Wu Yu was swift and fierce. He had not transformed into a fairy ape for a long time and had forgotten the feeling of this violent battle. Now, the feeling is back. In his hand was the Tegzu artifact Thunder Flame Emperor God Heavenly Pillar. He also roared, and it was also earth-shaking. At least in terms of momentum, he could compete with the giant whale. Charge forward! The Thunder Flame Emperor God Heavenly Pillar burst out with golden flames and thunderous power, sweeping thousands of miles, and the sky was full of golden roaring forward. The Thunder Flame Emperor God Heavenly Pillar was at the core of the thunder and flame. At this moment, Wu Yu suddenly appeared in front of the giant whale, and a stick fell down, with a heavy force of tens of millions of pounds, bombarding the top of the giant whale's head. Boom! However, at the same time, the giant whale opened its bloody mouth, and in an instant, a large number of black water droplets condensed into steel, suddenly rushed out, forming a huge torrent, bombarding Wu Yu's chest. Wu Yu, danger! Even if the Thunder Flame Emperor God Heavenly Pillar hits the opponent, he can easily be swallowed by this black torrent. However, at this time, the benefit of Yezixi and Nanshan Wanjiao's assistance in the battle came out. At this moment, the mountains on the ground suddenly changed. The rocks were directly deformed and condensed into a pitch-black wall, which blocked Wu Yu's chest, so that the giant whale was not only hit by Wu Yu's stick, but even its attack was blocked by Yezixi's magical power. Although the wall formed by the black gauze was quickly destroyed, Wu Yu had already dodged it at this time. The advantage of the three-party siege is that it can attack continuously. At the moment when Wu Yu just dodged, countless vines suddenly rushed out from the vast land under the black giant whale. The trees came alive completely. In a short time, they rushed into the sky and suddenly pierced down. There were tens of millions of them, densely packed, like countless swords, either piercing or entangled, blocking the black giant whale. Pa pa pa! A large number of trees with great power hit the giant whale with hatred. Ang! The black whale made a deafening angry sound. This time, it bumped around everywhere, completely destroying the trees for a while, but he did not run away. Instead, he hated Wu Yu and the others even more. Now he opened his mouth again, but it no longer touched the torrent that flooded the world, but formed a vortex, giving birth to a terrifying suction force, and actually wanted to swallow Wu Yu and the others into his stomach. In such a long time, it was the first time that Wu Yu saw someone trying to swallow him. Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi were really unstoppable. Even if he was invisible, he couldn't avoid this swallowing at this time. The situation of these two people was now considered to be quite dangerous. Wu Yu had to save them quickly. He did not hesitate at all, and used the body of the golden fairy ape to perform the Yanyun Yin. Combined with the violent technique, it can be said that the power has reached an unprecedented peak. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1535. In this ancient demon world, there is no need to worry about letting others know about the powerful Yanyun seal, and you can use it to your heart's content. The huge golden fairy ape's body penetrated into the void with both hands. The ape's palm pushed hard in the void, and suddenly the void shook and exploded. The endless void, especially the Kinkin world of the ancient demon world, was so fragile that it turned into powder in an instant as the void shattered. A large piece of black void immediately appeared in front of everyone. The black giant whale corpse puppet was within the range of the void shattering. However, because of its huge size, Wu Yu was unable to completely include it in the void after breaking it. The body part in the void quickly collapsed due to the void shattering, while the part outside the void was intact. In an instant, the huge whale was left with only a head and a small half of its tail, and the middle part was completely shattered. Wu Yu looked at the scene and relaxed a little. He thought he had solved the giant whale, but he didn't expect that in the next moment, the head and tail of the giant whale were forcibly connected together to form a new whole. Although the overall threat was lower than before, it was still quite terrible. At this time, the giant whale still opened its bloody mouth and exerted the power of its magical power. In an instant, a majestic sound wave vibrated and swept across the ancient demon world, shaking all the rocks and trees within a radius of 1,000 miles, and they were completely shattered. Being in the center of this roaring sound, Wu Yu and the other three were of course the first to bear the brunt and directly endured the explosive attack of the opponent. Even Wu Yu himself, his physical body and immortal god, were strongly impacted. The physical body collapsed, the immortal god was shaken, and it was extremely painful, and he fell into a blank state of mind. He was hit like this, not to mention Yezixi and Nanshan Wanjiao, who must have suffered more serious injuries. Hold on. Wu Yu finally woke up a little, and immediately gritted his teeth and said. After the violent spell, he was a little tired, but in order to suppress the giant whale corpse, he quickly used the fire eyes and golden pupils to cast the golden fire heaven and earth furnace. The heaven's furnace, suppressed from the sky. The earth's furnace, rose up. The two suddenly connected, trapping the giant whale in the furnace. He knew that under the previous annihilation cloud seal, although the giant whale corpse was not dead, it was actually almost dead. Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi also held on at this time, each of them used their magical powers, and bombarded the giant whale like a storm. Wu Yu's eyes were full of fire, the golden flames burned violently, and the roaring thunder roared violently around, and finally gathered on the thunder flame Emperor God Heavenly Pillar. The power of the heavenly rule, erupted. The thunder flame heavenly rule is the power of the heavenly court, the fusion of thunder and fire. When the two of them were entangled with the giant whale, Wu Yu fell from the sky again, and a stick fell down. The violent stick of the golden fairy ape hit the junction of the head and tail of the giant whale. Crack! This time, the head and tail that were just connected to each other were finally completely broken. Then, Wu Yu instantly transformed into a giant beast that swallowed the sky, opened his bloody mouth, and directly bit the head of the corpse puppet to pieces and swallowed it, and then did not let go of the tail. Now, the giant whale corpse puppet was completely dead. The reason for doing this is that it can be seen that the flesh and blood of the corpse puppet are extremely fresh. Maybe it can be swallowed and digested. But what he never expected was that the essence contained in the flesh and blood of this corpse puppet, which has a history of who knows how many years, has not disappeared at all. Basically, it is as if it has just died, all of it is there. This was a great surprise to him, but it was a pity that half of it was destroyed by the cloud seal just now. Because it was not swallowed in time, it was dispersed all at once. The power of this dispersion will eventually be transferred to the heaven and earth, causing the spiritual energy of this ancient demon world to increase a few points. He was extremely surprised because it was simply incredible. However, in the end, it was found that there was still a difference. The difference was in the part of memory and enlightenment. It may be that this giant whale has been dead for a long time, and the memory has completely disappeared, not a bit of it. Only the part of Tao, perhaps because of the maintenance of combat effectiveness, still retains some perception, which is somewhat helpful to Wu Yu. Although it is slightly different from his immortal cultivation method, there are also common points worth learning from. So Wu Yu also digested it a little bit. If there is no other time, he should still be able to gain something. At this time, Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi have also recovered a lot. The giant whale's counterattack before death just now also brought them trouble. Boss, hurry back and see what that door is. Okay. Defeating the giant whale is not the key, but the door just now is. Wu Yu did not wait for them, and directly started to return at full speed. Not long after, he returned to the original place. At this time, the mountain sea was no longer a maze. The vast sea below had become particularly peaceful after the death of the giant whale. Wu Yu said nothing, and his men did not go in, but some of them were Taixu artifacts. At this time, a long whip appeared in his hand and threw it in. The long whip rushed into the vast sea like a palm and rolled up the glowing object in an instant. With a little force, the thing was rolled up. When it left the water, Wu Yu saw it clearly. This was indeed a door, but it was indeed a half-bronze ancient door, rusty on it, showing the ancient years. There should have been some reliefs of demons on it, all kinds of strange, but because of corrosion, the appearance could not be seen clearly. One can only feel the ancient and heavy atmosphere coming from this half-door, which makes people feel solemn. Half-door? What's the use? Nanshan Wanjiao came forward and looked at it in confusion. I don't know. Wu Yu looked for a long time with his fiery eyes, but he didn't get anything. Brother Yu, these waters have turned into water drops again. While Wu Yu was thinking, he was also paying attention. At this time, he saw clearly that the sea below had turned into water drops again, and mist rose. It is estimated that it will not take long for this place to return to its original state. It will be troublesome to get out of here at that time. Let's go first. He took the door and left quickly, leaving here before this mountain sea was restored to full of water drops and mist. Just after leaving, looking back, the mountain sea has fallen into the mist again, and there are fantastic water drops everywhere. In the end, the secret here is still not understood, Nanshan Wanjiao said. That's not necessarily the case. The key is this half-door, Wu Yu pondered. Have you figured out anything? Nanshan Wanjiao asked. Wu Yu smiled faintly and said, I don't know now, but I guess there is another yin-yang fisheye. If there is another door on the mountain in the seaside, maybe we will know. That makes sense. Brother Yu is still smart, Yezixi laughed. Flattering, I can think of this with my butt, Nanshan Wanjiao said disdainfully. Haha. After leaving the heavenly hell, I suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. Rest and recover first, then go over there. It's not easy to deal with here, and it must be not easy over there. Okay. About a month later, they had recovered completely, and Wu Yu had made some progress. After everything was ready, they came to the sea from the land. In this vast sea, they went forward against the huge waves to find the location of the mountain in the sea. This mountain in the sea is like a small land. It is estimated to be as big as half of Dongsheng Shenzhou. Not long after, Wu Yu arrived. Standing in the distance, he saw a violent tornado ahead. The storm was fierce and fierce. The sea mountain should be inside it. In the past, this storm alone was enough to stop the demon gods in the ocean, and they didn't dare to get close. Wu Yu and his team didn't have this problem for the time being. They quickly entered it. This storm was not as good as the epic god formation storm Silver Blade Ball, but Wu Yu felt that the mystery should be inside, not the storm itself. Sure enough, after they shuttled through the storm for a while, they found that they had lost their way here. It felt like they had arrived in a world of storms, endless, which was okay for a short time, but after a long time, it would not be easy to endure in this place. What should I do? There is no clue at all. We should find land first. We still have to rely on Zixi. The inheritance inherited by Yezixi was biased towards earth and darkness, so it would be easier for her to find land. The last water drop formation was actually broken by her. This time, they spent more time than last time. They had been gritting their teeth and persisting in the storm, because in the storm, the direction was changing anytime and anywhere. The storm caused the world to spin. The storm itself was impossible, but the change of direction was full of too many possibilities, and could even trap people here forever. Fortunately, Yezixi could control one direction, that is, the direction of the land. Although she made mistakes, after many attempts, about 2 months later, Wu Yu and his team finally passed through the storm. This was much more difficult than breaking the water drop fairy formation last time. After rushing through the storm, they arrived at a snow-white island like crystal. There was nothing on the island, a blank, vast and huge. After the three landed on it, they didn't know where to find another door. After searching for a long time, basically after going around the island, there was no discovery, so Wu Yu had no other way. He took out the Thunder Flame Emperor God Pillar to destroy the island, bombed it repeatedly, and smashed the mountains on it, making a huge noise. Until this time, the island began to tremble violently and changes occurred. Not long after, the ground in front of them quickly cracked, and not long after, a snow-white giant beast jumped out from the ground. The giant beast was covered with white scales and had a streamlined body. It was a relatively rare beast, but Wu Yu recognized it. It was a pangolin. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1536. Like the giant whale, this white pangolin is also a corpse puppet. Moreover, its flesh and blood are also very fresh. Fresh flesh and blood means that Wu Yu can have a lot of luck by devouring it with the ability of the sky-swallowing beast. However, he was also clear about the difficulty of defeating the black giant whale before. The three of them did not dare to be careless and went all out. Even in order to kill it decisively and quickly, Wu Yu also used a little burning. Because of the experience last time, they also made a plan. At this time, after seeing the white pangolin, the three of them attacked instantly, still with Wu Yu as the main one, and the action was quite swift. Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi's ability to assist in the battle can be said to be top-notch, especially Nanshan Wanjiao, who is also good at creating illusions to confuse the opponent's mental will. Although the effect on the corpse puppet is limited, it can be regarded as a great help to Wu Yu. Wu Yu used the body of the golden fairy ape to display the Thunder Flame Emperor God Heavenly Pillar and fight the pangolin head-on. Although the opponent is a corpse puppet, its power is terrifying. When they fight, they can overturn the sea and change the color of the world. The key is that he can drill into the earth at any time to dodge Wu Yu's attacks. He is elusive, and because of the scales, his defense is higher. Fortunately, Wu Yu and his team are ready. The three cooperated. Finally, after Wu Yu burned, he used the Annihilation Seal to smash the white pangolin head-on. He was not afraid of burning because he could devour and digest the opponent smoothly at this time. Although the opponent was a corpse puppet, he got less understanding, but he could completely make up for the consumption of strength and injuries. The remaining part can also be passed on to Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi. So Nanshan Wanjiao laughed and said that Wu Yu was a female beast, and the two of them were crying for food, waiting for Wu Yu to feed them. After dealing with the white pangolin, the half-door that Wu Yu expected finally appeared. Sure enough, it was exactly the same as the one he got before, but the difference was one on the left and one on the right. They did not stop, but left here directly and returned to the land. For the time being, this ancient demon world did not seem to have changed. Wu Yu and his team first recovered and adjusted, and then took out the two doors. Although the patterns on them were not very clear, they were obviously one on the left and one on the right. I guess, if they are connected together, there will be wonderful changes, Nanshan Wanjiao said. You still need to guess, stupid. Yazixi still wanted to confront him. He had been used to it for so many years. If there was no quarrel, Wu Yu would not be used to it. In their quarrel, he gradually connected the two halves of the door together. Dang! There was no change when they were connected together, but Wu Yu was not disappointed. Suddenly, a dim yellow light appeared around the two doors. The light surrounded a circle and formed a door frame, which was considered a complete door. Then, with a clang, the bronze door opened. The moment it opened, an ancient, heavy, primitive, rich, and evil, terrifying demonic aura swept towards Wu Yu's three people. At that moment, there was really a creepy feeling. In the blink of an eye, it was completely opened, and a dim yellow vortex appeared in front of them. The demonic aura became more and more majestic, as if a demon would rush out from it soon. Fortunately, there was no demonic aura, but such a demonic aura was still really uncomfortable. This door actually has such a strong demonic aura. Where does it lead to? Yazixi murmured. I don't know. Wu Yu frowned. He felt the breath of danger. However, he was still deeply attracted. It's possible that it's the demon god realm, Wu Yu said. He knew that, for example, Zhuying ascended to the demon god realm, but he didn't know if he was okay in the demon god realm. After all, 10,000 years had passed. No way, that place, isn't it basically unrelated to the heavenly palace fairyland after the ascension? The three of them didn't figure it out for the time being. Long Chen said, after spending so much effort, they definitely won't just take a look. As for what is inside, we will know after we go in and take a look. Okay. It's exciting to start an adventure again. The two of them had no objection. However, to be on the safe side, Wu Yu still let them enter the fusion tower. He first used the magic of heaven and earth to change his body to the smallest, and then he rushed into the door without hesitation. When he disappeared, the two doors closed quickly, and then suddenly, he disappeared in the world of this ancient demon world without a trace. Wu Yu is now moving forward in a dim corridor. It is still unknown where he will go, but it is undeniable that the demonic energy in front is getting heavier and more majestic, which makes people's scalps numb. With his current realm, he still has such a feeling, which can only mean that this place is scary enough. At this time, before he could figure out what was going on outside, he suddenly had something in his hand. It was two bronze pendants. Looking closely, it was exactly the appearance of the two halves of the door, just smaller. It should be equivalent to the gate of the ancient demon world. With them, I can travel to the world ahead at any time. Wu Yu looked ahead and fell into deep thought. But what will the world ahead be like? The demon god world full of eternal emperor demons? It should be the demon god world. In fact, for immortals, the demon god world is a mysterious place. It is said that you can find the demon who is about to ascend in the mortal world and take yourself to the demon and god world. But the problem is that after you go, it seems that it is impossible to come back. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Therefore, no one is so stupid as to want to go to this place. At least judging from the memories within the 10 UN period, the demon god realm is becoming more and more mysterious, and there is basically no news about the demon god realm. Wu Yu only remembered this place because Zhuying went to the demon god realm last time. Now, he just wants to continue practicing, quickly become the immortal king, and later become the immortal emperor immortal. Only in this way can he continue to be with Luo Bin and have a chance to compete with the giant spirit god and the others. Otherwise, he will be a rat on the street for the rest of his life. However, if you want to become stronger, you can't hide. Now that he has such an opportunity to take risks, of course he is willing to hone himself. Otherwise, in what year and month can I appear in the immortal Dragon Emperor realm openly and meet her? In what year and month can I be upright and walk independently in heaven as Wu Yu? Although the time is still far away, of course he will work hard, which is his promise to Luo Bin. Just when he thought of Luo Bin, the light in front of his eyes suddenly brightened. With a whoosh, Wu Yu had already come out of the corridor. He guessed that he had traveled a long distance. After all, the world of demons and gods may not be in the immortal domain of Heavenly Palace. When he appeared in a new world, opened his eyes, and looked at the world with fiery eyes, he was stunned. First of all, it is certain that this is an endless world. This world may be as big as 8,000 heavenly palaces and 10,000 hells. However, it is completely different from heavenly palace and hell. For example, the heavenly palace is composed of layers of land. But the world in front of us is a huge hole, and it is like a Jambu world that has been enlarged countless times. However, this is a completely three-dimensional world. All living things and everything are suspended in the air. Some mountains, land, and seas are floating everywhere. Billions of land, mountains, and seas, with no end in sight. What fills this world is the majestic evil spirit. It was much more than what Wu Yu had experienced before, and because of this, he was certain that this was probably the legendary world of demons and gods. Here, with a scale comparable to that of heaven, it is the paradise where demons become gods. But why was Wu Yu stunned? That's because this is a broken world. Looking forward, at least half of the endless space is a space where the world of Kinkan is broken, and even the void behind it is completely broken. Countless broken space cracks are spread all over the world. These cracks and shattered areas will be torn apart if you enter them accidentally. Less than half is left, basically caught between cracks, lingering and may be involved in the broken void at any time, and may collapse at any time. Those broken voids are like an endless net. Like the mouth of a giant beast, it may swallow up the few remaining intact worlds at any time. Even after Wu Yu came in for a while, he saw that some spatial areas were merged into the fragmented void area. Although the demon energy is majestic, there is not much demon spirit energy, which shows that it is difficult to practice here in this world. At least the conditions are much worse than those in the heavenly palace. Wu Yu imagined that if the 8,000 heavenly palace was destroyed, it would be like this. But, is this the world of demons and gods? Come out and take a look. Wu Yu determined that it was safe for the time being and asked Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi to come out. Damn it, what the hell is this place? There must be no beauties in a place like this. Nanshan Wanjiao said disappointedly. Yezixi said nervously, has the world of demons and gods been destroyed? But it seems that there is still a breath of life here. But, who is so powerful in such a big world to be destroyed like this? I remember Wu Yu said that this is the shattering of the void. His magical power can only break a small area, and this is a gap of hundreds of millions of times. Who did it? Wu Yu himself definitely didn't know. He looked around and said, just thinking about it is not enough. Ask the local people here. Whether this is the world of demons and gods now, we are not sure. He put away the 2 doors so that he could come here next time. As for going back, Wu Yu estimated that the door to the ancient demon world should be enough. Walk. The 3 of them randomly found a direction and walked through the cracks. There was a suspended land mass in the distance, flying in the air. They quickly approached. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1537. Not far in front of them, there was a 3-dimensional land. The land was irregular and crooked, like a rolled-up piece of paper, but because it was so huge, people could stand everywhere. When it was really unfolded, I'm afraid the area was no smaller than the first level of the 8,000 heavenly palace. However, compared with the ethereal and beautiful fairy palace, this crooked land looked very pitiful, and even part of it was involved in the void crack. It was estimated that in the future, this entire piece of land would be torn apart by the void crack. Before, it was far away, and it was not clear what was inside. When they approached and entered it, they found that this desolate land, at least within the range of perception, did not have any living creatures. Wu Yu still wanted to catch one and ask about the situation. However, he did not give up. The three began to search on this land. This land was full of huge wrinkles, like an endless abyss, and it was not certain that there was a vast and huge city hidden inside. This search lasted for more than half a month. The three of them occasionally went their separate ways, running around, but they didn't see any life at all. By the way, brother Yu, didn't you say that Zhuiying came here? Did you leave a communication talisman? Maybe we can still contact him, Yezixi said, looking at the desolate and broken land in front of him. Wu Yu nodded and said, the demonic energy here is so strong, it is still very likely to be from the demon god realm. I'll try to find it. He found the communication talisman that he had left for Zhuiying, sent it out, and then waited for news, mainly to tell Zhuiying that he might have come to the demon god realm and ask where he is now. After sending it out, there was no response. If the distance is far enough, it may take several days to get here. But now it has been more than 10 days. Wu Yu frowned. Either this is not the demon god realm, but a place far away from the demon god realm, where even the immortal talisman cannot reach. Or, maybe he has had an accident. Has he had an accident? Wu Yu nodded and said, after all, he came here alone. Although I gave him a lot of treasures, it is indeed difficult to survive in such a place. He lowered his head. After all, this was Zhuiying's own choice. He could only say, I hope he is okay. Next, he was still waiting for Zhuiying's response, but he also continued to set off to find other creatures in this strange world. It took nearly 2 months to almost turn around this twisted land, and he didn't encounter any creatures, not even a mosquito. There were only some ancient plants, but because of the lack of demon spirit energy, these plants were generally withered and had no value, and even broke when touched. There are footprints. And they must be from the demon god. For so long, the only discovery was some footprints. At present, only these footprints proved that there were creatures here. After that, they left here, followed the cracks in the void, chose a direction to move forward, and in the vast space, they set their sights on another place, which looked like a floating mountain, but was actually extremely huge. The area of all the appearances added up was no smaller than the previous land. When they went here, it seemed that the demon fairy aura was finally thicker. In fact, the so-called demon fairy aura and fairy aura are of the same type. However, Wu Yu still remembered it a little after not receiving a reply from Zhuiying for such a long time. Later, he sent 2 more communication fairy talismans, but still no response. If it was confirmed that this was the demon god world, then he was more likely to encounter an accident. However, this vast and huge world was uninhabited. Even if he was still alive, it would be quite difficult to find him. It was even unlikely unless the 2 sides could get in touch. Not long after, he finally climbed the mountain. This side was relatively intact. Wu Yu directly spread out 100,000 lawless clones, spread all over the mountain, and began to look for living beings. Anyway, he hadn't found it until now, so he was not afraid of being exposed to danger. But even so, it was several days later that Wu Yu really found traces of living beings in this huge world. He could only say that the living beings here were hiding too well. He was one of the clones. He had drilled deep into the mountain, almost into the mountainside, before he found a trace of spiritual demonic energy. That was definitely brought by real living beings. Don't go seeing a figure, Wu Yu hurriedly called him. Who are you? A woman's voice came from the depths of the abyss, sounding harmless. Wu Yu withdrew the other clones and quickly came here. Now his clone came here to stalemate. What kind of demon are you? Why can't I see through you? At this time, the demon god appeared in front of Wu Yu. It turned out to be a snow-white fox demon with clear blue eyes. It was indeed at the level of a demon god. However, for Wu Yu now, it was just a small demon in the realm of immortal demons. The white fox smelled very fresh. It appeared in front of Wu Yu in a blink of an eye, opened its eyes wide, and looked at Wu Yu curiously, but it was not worried at all. Aren't you afraid of me? Although Wu Yu was a clone, he could still deal with her. He was going to devour her directly and read her memory, so that he could figure out where this place was. I'm afraid of what you will do. I don't have anything on me, so what are you trying to do? The white fox rolled his eyes. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. At this time, Wu Yu's real body had arrived, and he was accompanied by Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi. The clones retreated after their avatars were done. Only then did the white fox see Wu Yu's real body. Her face changed slightly and she said, "Who are you? Why are you so scary? I can't even see my true form, are they the old-timers?" She began to tremble a little. "Old Wu, for my sake, don't destroy the flower with your hands." Nanshan Wanjiao saw the white fox and immediately begged Wu Yu for mercy. He is smart enough to know that he can't just wander around in heaven and hell. How important it is to be a female fox demon in this place where birds don't shit. Wu Yu didn't want to kill the fox demon at first. He showed a little bit of his momentum, suppressed the opponent, and then said, "Don't worry about who we are, let's ask you some questions, and you can answer them honestly. But if you tell a lie, you will be punished. This friend next to me likes to eat fox demon meat." "Ah," the fox demon asked Wu Yu to say that. Nanshan Wanjiao turned pale with fright. She trembled and said, "Senior, feel free to ask, but the little girl Xuanhuan will answer everything she knows." She was a little confused. These were obviously big demons. Why did she ask herself this little demon? It seemed that she was completely ignored. But in order to survive, she is indeed very honest. "Don't be nervous, beauty. He is scaring you. Don't be afraid. My brother will protect you," Nanshan Wanjiao said gently. He remained in human form, and he was so handsome that any girl would be dizzy after looking at him. After all, he had the body of a 9th-level emperor. After all, in heaven, he was also a wandering figure. This made the fox demon not know who to believe. In the end, he just didn't dare to speak and nodded hurriedly. Wu Yu then asked, "What am I asking? Just answer it. You don't have to ask why. First of all, the first question is, where is this place?" "Where?" She was a little stunned, then realized, and said quickly, "It's the Xiaomu World Peak." Wu Yu estimated that Xiaomu World Peak should be the name of the mountain and land they were currently on. He nodded and said, "What about the huge world outside?" This, demon god realm, Xuanhuan was in a state of confusion. She was really surprised because the other person didn't even know what kind of world this was. He must have come here from somewhere other than the demon god realm. But she didn't dare to say more, because she knew that if she said more, she might be killed. It is indeed the world of demons and gods. Wu Yu looked at each other. "Don't be nervous. We are indeed from outside and are very curious about the situation here. Let's sit down now and let's have a good chat together. Don't worry, we are not murderers. If we were, this man could devour you directly. I will know everything after digesting your memory," Nanshan Wanjiao said softly. Ah, after saying this, the white fox Xuanhuan began to be afraid of Wu Yu, and her body couldn't help but lean towards Nanshan Wanjiao, but she also knew that these people didn't seem to be lying to her. She knew that she just needed to be honest. Really, there is nothing wrong with saving your life. Seniors, do you want to know about this world of demons and gods? Well, tell me, For example, why is the demon god realm so dilapidated? Xuanhuan nodded, then frowned, and said, as for why the demon god realm is so dilapidated, I'm actually not particularly clear on this issue. The little girl ascended here from a small world called the world of 10,000 demons 60,000 years ago. This place was already like this when I came here. However, I heard someone say it, and I don't know if it is correct. It is also a rumor. It is said that it was destroyed by the gods in heaven, and there was an earth-shattering battle. The time may be before the 10 UN, or it may be was it even further back, millions, tens of millions of years ago. After that battle, the demon god realm gradually collapsed, and finally became what it is today. I also heard that if this continues, one day the demon god realm will be destroyed. Totally destroyed. Speaking of this, she was a little sentimental, because if the demon world was destroyed, there would be no place for her. Of course, the thought that I might not live until that time makes me feel less bad. Fairy? Impossible, Yezixi couldn't help but wonder, because she had never heard about the demon world in heaven or hell, so how could it be destroyed by gods? Wu Yu has devoured so many immortals, and basically has nothing to do with the world of demons and gods. There is no way he doesn't know about such a big thing. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1538. The three of them looked at each other. Wu Yu asked, "Are you sure that the rumors were destroyed by gods?" Xuanhuan was a little nervous and said, "Most people say so, but there are also a small number of people who say they let the ghosts and gods from hell destroy it, and some people say they let gods and ghosts join forces to destroy it because they are jealous that the world of demons and gods is bigger, fertile, and full of demonic energy. I heard that the demon world was beautiful in the past, but it is now in ruins. This sounds incredible. As far as I know, today's gods and immortals basically have little understanding of the world of demons and gods. As for the immortal emperor and immortal, maybe they need to be more familiar with it. Did those eternal emperor immortals and eternal emperor demons do it secretly? Wu Yu guessed. However, if the demon god realm was once so huge, how could it be destroyed like this without causing any disturbance in heaven and hell? Of course these are all rumors, and I have heard them over the years. Sorry, three seniors, I don't know the real truth. Xuanhuan said distressedly. Wu Yu didn't embarrass her, they were really confused. Nanshan Wanjiao asked, to destroy a world like the demon god realm like this, you have to be the top immortal or ghost. It is estimated that even the 5 holy emperors can't do it. By the way, the eternal emperor here, don't you resist? There must be some movement. Xuanhuan shook his head and said, there is no immortal emperor demon. It is said that they all died in the battle. What? Wu Yu and 3 others exclaimed at the same time. This is the demon god realm, the demon god realm, the 8,000 heavenly palaces, and the 10,000 hells. Now, there are many heavenly palaces and hells, and many immortal emperor realms, all of which are immortal. According to comparison, there must be a lot of immortal emperor demons here. However, she actually said that all the immortal emperor demons died in the battle of destruction. How is this possible? They all died in that battle? For a long time, there has been no immortal emperor demon in this world of demon gods. The 3 asked eagerly. Xuanhuan nodded and said, it should be so, at least it has been like this for the 60,000 years since I came here. In fact, you won't believe it when I say it. It is said that in that war, not only the eternal demon emperor, but also all the people in this demon god realm, all the demons and gods are dead. There is no one left. The world is completely destroyed and all living things are destroyed. After listening, Wu Yu and others thought she was joking. How many gods are there in a heaven? How many ghosts and gods are there in a hell? Not to mention the 8,000 celestial palaces, even the first heaven is probably too many to count. The number of demon gods in the demon god world is probably about the same. That battle of destruction ended in death? How many lives were lost? How terrible is that genocide? How cruel a being must be to be so ruthless. This is genocide. Are you kidding? Yezixi's voice trembled. Xuanhuan said nervously, Senior sister, this is definitely not a joke. Of course, what I heard are all rumors. After all, I have not experienced it, but if you have met other demon gods, they must have heard this. I really don't know who caused this war, but in the past 6 years, I haven't heard of anyone surviving that battle. Wu Yu was relatively calm. You mean, all the demon gods in the demon god world now ascended from the mortal world after that battle? Xuanhuan nodded and said, yes, all of them. So the number is not much. This huge Xiaomu world peak is bigger than my previous mortal world, but there are only a few demon gods. After listening, Wu Yu and the other three couldn't calm down for a long time. They had never expected that the rumored world of demons and gods would turn out like this. Nanshan Wanjiao sighed, it seems that this world is not as simple as we imagined. There are many secrets in it. Wu Yu nodded. Looking at the immortal emperor immortal in heaven, nothing seems to have happened. However, wouldn't they know that the demon god realm was destroyed and all life was extinct? If they didn't do it, who did it? No one would be nervous. Moreover, I also thought that no one knew the Monkey King and the others, even the Dragon Ancestor, Tianxin Dragon Emperor and the others had vague memories. The Monkey King said that they were puppets. What does this mean? The fog is heavy. Wu Yu just discovered today that there really are terrible secrets that cannot be understood in this heavenly palace fairyland. In such a large demon god world, the demon gods that exist all ascended after being destroyed. No wonder, there are so few. In a place as big as Xiaomu World Peak, there are at least hundreds of millions of gods in heaven, but there are only a few demon gods here. And indeed, the immortal energy here is frighteningly low, and there doesn't seem to be any genius or treasure. In 60,000 years, Xuanhuan was only at the third level of the immortal demon realm, and it would be difficult to make progress in the future. This place was only several times better than the 3,000 worlds of the mortal world, and it was incomparable to heaven and hell. Who destroyed this world? The three of them couldn't figure it out. Is there any involvement in this with the Monkey King, the Grand Marshal Tianpeng, the General Rolling Curtain, and the 8 heavenly dragons? They don't know either. After a long time, they calmed down a little. The current demon god world is so dilapidated, and then all the demon gods are ascended, hiding, practicing silently, no one can become the new immortal emperor, Wu Yu asked. Xuanhuan nodded and said, that's right, how can you become immortal? The demon fairy energy here can't be compared with the heaven. Even the heaven should find it difficult to produce a new immortal emperor fairy. However, there are relatively top demon kings who rule the current demon god world. They usually live in peace and only occasionally fight for very scarce resources. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Now it is just a very pitiful world after destruction. Next, Wu Yu and her learned a little about the strong people here. The strongest among them should be the top of Taixu Fairyland. They are definitely peerless monsters. In such a place, they can cultivate to the level of becoming an immortal emperor demon. If these people can become immortal emperor demons, they will be the new masters of this demon god world. But the problem is that this demon god world will eventually perish. Even if they become the new masters, it will be useless. Moreover, if they cannot leave here in the future, even if they are emperor demons, there is nothing they can do. They can only perish with the world. In fact, they can reach this point, not all by their own practice. After all, it is too difficult and unlikely, Xuanhuan suddenly said. Then how did they do it? Xuanhuan said, the demon god realm is very large, with many mysterious places, many forbidden places, and many places torn by void cracks, which are rarely visited by people. In these places, the corpses of the emperor demons have appeared. It is rumored that those emperor demon corpses have indeed died for a long time, and they are all fragments, but the flesh and blood are more fresh than those of living people. These emperor demon corpses are the ultimate treasures of the demon god realm. It can be said that the strongest demon kings now have all eaten emperor demon corpses before, which is possible to achieve today's achievements. Emperor demon corpses. Wu Yu was surprised again. He had seen giant whales and pangolin corpses. The flesh and blood were extremely fresh. Although they were not emperor demons, they had a certain effect on Wu Yu. Ordinary demon gods would not devour them at all, but they could actually become stronger by eating the corpse fragments left by the emperor demons, which shows that these emperor demon corpses are indeed rare good things in this demon god world. After all, there will be no emperor immortal corpses in heaven, and there will be no emperor demon corpses in hell. However, so many immortal emperor demons have fallen here, and it is normal for some corpses to appear in some corners and forbidden areas. And being able to exist to this day and still maintain a vigorous essence shows that it is indeed different after reaching the immortal realm. Moreover, the immortal emperor demon itself is stronger than the immortal in terms of flesh and blood. Wu Yu originally thought that such a demon god world was meaningless. He just wanted to find Zhuiying and see his safety. But now, the rumor of the emperor demon corpse made him want to stay here. After all, if he could get it, he would definitely make better use of it than others. When was the last time the corpse of the emperor demon appeared? Xuanhuan thought for a moment and said, "There was a big commotion. I remember one time when I came here 20,000 years ago. A hand appeared. I don't know which emperor demon it was. All the demon kings fought bloody battles. In the end, there were heavy casualties. Many demon kings died. Finally, the strongest few people divided it up. The storm calmed down. Later, the people who divided it up became much stronger. That was 40,000 years ago, which means that the corpse of the emperor demon is not easy to find. It is definitely very rare." Wu Yu asked some more details until he almost figured it out. He wanted to leave and ask about Zhuiying's news and ask more people by the way. "Don't reveal our whereabouts, otherwise I will come back to find you and give you some gifts." Wu Yu used both kindness and force, and Xuanhuan was of course honest. "Don't run around. If there is a chance in the future, brother will take you to play everywhere." Nanshan Wanjiu didn't forget to tease her before leaving. After leaving, Wu Yu didn't completely believe it. He found a few more demon gods, some of whom had been here for more than 300,000 years. He knew more than Xuanhuan, but it was obvious that Xuanhuan didn't lie. The things in the demon god world were all true. All the creatures in the world were killed. It's terrible. Such a truth made the three of them unable to calm down for a long time. What kind of terrible thing happened? Yazixi also frowned, very scared. She was glad that she was not born in that era. Thinking back to the past, a demon finally became a demon god, ascended to the sky, and saw corpses everywhere. What kind of collapse would that be? Let's see if there is any way to find Zhuiying. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1539. After confirming the changes in the demon god realm and the corpse of the emperor demon, Wu Yu left Xiaomu World Peak. Judging from what these demon gods said, no one actually knows the real truth. All living things at that time were probably dead. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Inferring that the beings who destroyed the world of demons and gods are gods or ghosts are mostly guesswork. Of course, it is also possible to infer it from the corpse of the emperor demon. It has been so long now that many traces of the demon god realm have disappeared. But there is a certain possibility that traces remain on the corpse of the emperor demon. After coming out of Xiaomu World Peak, I still couldn't calm down for a long time. Years ago, there was such a huge world that was equivalent to 8,000 heavenly palaces and 10,000 hells, and it was completely destroyed. Obviously, there weren't many gods in heaven and hell, until this incident. Although the demon god realm is almost completely cracked now, the scope is still quite large. If you want to find Zhu Ying, unless the other party returns the messenger talisman. Otherwise, it's just a matter of luck. This is no different than finding a needle in a haystack. How is it possible to find a needle that sinks so low in the vast sea? Anyway, you can't just go back to heaven and hell, so just wander around here. There may be some beautiful demons and gods. The exotic style is different from the fairies. For Nanshan Wanjiao, this place is simply paradise. After all, he is a demon himself and likes people who are as wild as him. Trash, these boring things are on my mind every day, and I have no ambition at all. Although Yazixi had ridiculed him countless times, she still couldn't help but complain. Nanshan Wanjiao didn't care at all. Gigi said, "What is ambition? How can a beautiful body be attractive? You little girl doesn't understand." The three of them were talking and laughing. They couldn't live together in such an open and honest manner in heaven, so even though the place was barren, Wu Yu felt very comfortable, as if he had returned to the time when the three of them were traveling together in the mortal world. The corpse of the Emperor Demon. The last time it appeared was 40,000 years ago, some time ago. If you don't dig it yourself, you still need to wait here slowly. Now, they are living a wandering life. Nanshan Wanjiao controls a Tegzu artifact-level battleship and magical weapon, hiding it with the magic of the Illusion World Master. They travel silently through this broken world of demons and gods. The three of them occasionally they take turns driving, and at other times, each of them is practicing. Occasionally, when I encounter the existence of demons and gods, or when I reach some relatively large land, I will stop and ask about Zhu Ying. Or learn more about whether there are any legends about the Emperor Demon corpse nearby. 2 or 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. I have been cultivating immortality for a long time. I used to think that 2 or 3 years was a long time, but now it only takes a moment. Just think about a small problem, such as delving into an immortal formation, and time will pass in the blink of an eye. Now I also realize the feeling of staying in one realm for tens of thousands of years. According to such difficulties, it is really too difficult to achieve immortality. Even the demons here cannot do it. The poverty of immortal energy does have many effects. The demon god realm is too big, with shattered void everywhere, making it a forbidden area that cannot be reached. It is even said that many places have been banned. But it just so happened that Wu Yu's cultivation of the magical power somersault cloud was itself the way of the void. Therefore, to others, the void might be a forbidden area, but to him, although he could not come and go freely, he could simply travel through it, which was not a big problem. For him now, most of the void is relatively stable, and only some of the extremely manic broken voids are quite dangerous. There has been no news about Zhu Ying, so he had no choice but to focus a little on finding the Emperor Demon corpse, which meant going to a place that others could not reach. A few years later, he began to go specifically to places sealed by the void. However, even such places, most of them had been searched and there were no secrets. In the past, this place might not have been affected by shattered void. There was a certain process that led to the destruction of the demon god realm to the extent it is today. Currently, Wu Yu can get into most of the broken parts of the void. This means that he can even find things that others cannot find more easily than the top demon king here, Tegzu demon realm. Wu Yu also took advantage of this and went out to find places that were difficult for others to reach. In a short period of time, he found nothing, but he did not give up. It was definitely not that easy to find a treasure that no one else could find and could only miss otherwise. How could it not have appeared in 40,000 years? To achieve great things, patience comes first. Especially in heaven, it is easy to become an immortal, and to achieve immortality, one must possess extraordinary patience and concentration. Otherwise, how can one survive the endless years of hard thinking and no results? Most immortals have been practicing hard for millions of years, but they can't find their goals at all. Millions of years without harvest are all wasted time. It is not terrible to waste time, decades, hundreds, or thousands of years. The terrible thing is that after millions of years of study and hard work, but ultimately nothing, that is the most painful thing in the world. Wu Yu traveled to many places, and 100 years passed in the blink of an eye, but there was still no news about the 9 infants. The number of demon gods in the demon god world is really small. Occasionally, some demon gods gather together and build cities, which are quite rare. In the past 100 years, the number of demon gods seen is only more than 100,000. Most of them are active alone in the huge demon god world. Occasionally, they will participate in some exchange meetings, but only to trade some items. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Wu Yu has also gotten used to the rhythm of not seeing people here for most of the year. In fact, there are still many demon gods, but they basically hide and practice hard. Although the hope is not great, there is no other goal after all. This is not a wonderful world. All demon gods desire the same goal, that is, to become an immortal emperor demon. In that case, although this world is indeed broken, it is also possible to control this place and become the master here. Maybe there is also a possibility of leaving here in the future. In the endless years, he once again crossed the void fragments with ease, and this time he appeared in an empty territory. When he came here, Wu Yu had a hunch that he should have come to a place that was completely closed by the void fragments and no one had arrived for a long time. Although there may not be gains here, there is at least hope. Once you enter some places, you know that demon gods have come in recently. Because it was surrounded by void fragments, it was very dark inside, with little light, and it was pitch black everywhere. Even with the eyes of fire and gold, the range that could be seen was not large. Because there was a high possibility of unstable space around, Wu Yu did not let Nanshan Wanjiao and the others come out. The two of them had been in seclusion recently. Wu Yu shrank his body alone, and walked forward in the darkness without any warning. Most of the empty spaces in front of him were meaningless. Occasionally, there were some lands, suspended islands, or various types of strange areas, all of which were ruined. From the grayness and longevity of these places, Wu Yu deduced that it was indeed at least 100,000 years, and no one had been here. He patiently shuttled through this dark hole for 2 years. In fact, it was purely for luck. Most of the things he did in his life were in vain. Wu Yu was in a good mood, wandering around, and suddenly, he found that something on his body had changed. A closer look showed that it was the door he got in the ancient demon world. The door to the demon god world. Now, there are 2 pendants. These 2 pendants suddenly trembled and emitted a yellow light. What's going on? Wu Yu immediately took out the 2 pendants. He knew that the pendants must be related to the demon god world, and even the ancient demon world and the demon god world. Now the pendant is actually moving, obviously reminding something. And it suddenly glows and heats in such a place, which is probably related to his coming here. He took the 2 pendants in his hand and could feel the amplitude of the vibration of this thing. Maybe it is guiding you, Ming Long said. It's possible. Wu Yu moved the pendant in all directions, up and down, left and right, and moved forward in various directions for a while, and then carefully felt the changes of the pendant. Soon, he noticed that in one direction, the reaction of the 2 pendants was the strongest. Is it going in this direction? Does it mean that there is a corpse of the Emperor Demon in this direction? Yezixi asked hurriedly, and she and Nanshan Wanjiao were also alarmed. Wu Yu smiled and said, not necessarily. Who said this thing is related to the corpse of the Emperor Demon? Maybe it's something else. We still have to be extremely careful. It's impossible to be so lucky. Remember that the two doors were protected by corpse puppets. Now this thing is actually guiding me. Who knows what it will be? Anyway, go and have a look. Your ability to escape is unparalleled in the world. You still need to be afraid of this, Xuanhuan teased. Of course, Wu Yu took action directly. He changed his body to the smallest and carefully sensed the direction indicated by the two pendants. He knew that there was a possibility that it was guiding him to find the corpse of the Emperor Demon, but there were also great other possibilities. If it really can help me find the corpse of the Emperor Demon, and the corpse of the Emperor Demon, even if it is just a fragment, can still be swallowed by the nest and can bring me help, then this is indeed my blessed place. But Wu Yu knew that life is unlikely to be so lucky and easy. When such ease and luck appear, there must be a deeper crisis buried underneath, which is likely to give him a fatal blow. So at this time, you must not let the surprise overwhelm your mind, you must be extremely calm. He quietly moved forward, walked for several days, and finally arrived at a place where the two pendants reacted very strongly. With his fiery eyes, he could scan the front, and at this time he suddenly found that there seemed to be a dark forest in front. Sorry, I am still not in good condition today. I wanted to update it, and it took me almost a day to write one chapter. I will adjust it well. I owe you 4 chapters and try to pay it back as soon as possible. Thank you for your support. Writing is like this. Sometimes the tension is tense, the pressure will be greater and greater, and sometimes the thoughts are like a spring. It is not a problem to write several chapters a day. For example, the highest record of the madman can write 6-7 chapters a day, but when the state is bad, it may only be a few hundred words. Have a good rest tonight and write well tomorrow. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1540. A dark forest, with an extremely gloomy atmosphere everywhere, with waves of coolness and the smell of blood constantly coming from the front. Seeing this dark forest, Wu Yu and the others were a little surprised, but at the same time they were extremely wary of the aura coming from the dark forest ahead. It was a feeling of deathly silence. It was obvious that there was definitely something beyond their expectations in the place guided by the pendant, at least something they had not seen in the demon god realm before. Let's go in. Be careful at all times. If you encounter danger, respond immediately, Wu Yu said solemnly to Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi, and then took the lead to step into the dark forest. This dark forest is extremely vast. There are countless dark tree trunks hanging in the air. Each tree is a towering giant tree. Its branches and leaves cover the sky and the sun, and they are endless. Even a random leaf is the same size as a continent in the mortal world, which is breathtaking. It can be felt that the atmosphere in this dark forest is extremely cold and contains an uncomfortable atmosphere. It seems that walking in it has a depressing feeling. This place is different from the previous places. There should be some differences. Nanshan Wanjiao gently shook his folding fan and kept looking around. At this time, he felt a little solemn in his heart and felt the unusual atmosphere here. And he also put away his usual thoughts of just looking for beauties. After all, he also knew that it was unlikely that any beauties would appear in such a place, and even if they did, there would definitely be something wrong. The reaction to the pendant is getting stronger and stronger. Wu Yu observed the situation of the two pendants and found that the more they stepped into the dark forest, the stronger the reaction of the pendants was. Gradually, they discovered that some of the leaves on the giant trees hanging around were actually there were large swaths of blood. These bright red blood stains seemed to be close to drying up, but even Wu Yu and the others could still feel a certain fresh breath in these blood stains, which reminded him of the previous situation in the ancient demon world. Could these be the blood stains of those emperor demons that have long since fallen, Wu Yu thought in his mind, while observing the surroundings vigilantly. In this place, other demon gods will basically not come. These have to pass through the broken void, basically only he can come. If there are no other hidden dangers in this dark forest, he can give it a try to see if these bloodstains are useful to him. He heard Xuanhuan's little demon god say before that biting the emperor demon can make the demon gods improve. The news gave Wu Yu a lot of ideas. He has the ability to devour. If this ability comes into contact with the corpse of the emperor demon, it will definitely benefit him much more than those demon gods directly chewing the corpse. If the blood comes from the emperor demon in ancient times, then naturally it can be regarded as part of the emperor demon's corpse, but I don't know if it will have any effect on me. I really don't know what kind of things have happened to this demon god world to become so empty and shattered. It's unimaginable that all the immortal emperor demons have perished. Staring at the leaves of the hanging giant leaves in this dark forest, Wu Yu thought deeply about the half-dried blood on his face. Unfortunately, it was useless even if he thought deeply. After all, these things are not something that can be found out now. He can only continue to explore the demon world to see if he can find some scattered clues. Thinking of the effectiveness of the corpse whales in the ancient demon world on him, Wu Yu naturally would not waste the seemingly powerful blood in front of him. These ancient blood stains have been here for countless years, and there is still some fresh vitality in them. It can be seen that the owner of ancient blood is such a heaven-defying existence. He used the power of the immortal world to gather together, and with a wave of his hand, he gathered all the ancient blood stains he could see in the dark forest, more and more, and soon almost formed a small lake. You can even feel that these ancient blood stains are gathering together, and the fresh vitality in them is actually blending together, making the entire small lake of blood a little roiling. Nanshan Wanjiao's eyes lit up. Damn it, old Wu, you have such a strong taste, you can even swallow this kind of ancient blood stains. I wonder if these blood stains come from an ancient beautiful demon? Tisk tisk tisk. He could see Wu Yu's purpose and the atmosphere was rather gloomy now, so he joked with a smile. Yazixi snorted softly, only a pig like you would have such an idea. My brother must want to see if he can find anything from these ancient blood stains. Haha, of course I know this. How about a little girl like you? Aren't you allowed to be handsome and fantasize about what kind of beauty this blood stain comes from? Nanshan Wanjiao was not on the right track with her and looked at her sideways with disdain. Ugh. I'm going to vomit. Yazixi made a vomiting gesture, she couldn't stand this person anymore. Wu Yu ignored their teasing and continued to collect ancient blood stains from all directions. It was unknown what kind of immortal emperor demon had fallen in this dark forest. Maybe more than half of its blood stains had dried up after so many years. The remaining ones where the waves gathered together were turbulent, becoming more and more like a vast lake, with almost no end in sight in the dark forest. However, although there is a lake, the body of the emperor demon is huge and boundless after all, and the blood is estimated to be less than 100,000th of it. The bright red blood and water all gathered together, and the freshness and vitality in them were all concentrated. It is conceivable that the owner of these bloodstains was a terrifying and powerful existence many years ago. It was definitely left by a strong man who had reached the realm of immortality. This chapter is not yet finished, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. After Wu Yu gathered all the bloodstains together and confirmed that there was nothing missing in the dark forest, he finally decided to take action and use the way of swallowing to deal with the sea of bloodstains. He could feel that it contained extremely magnificent blood and flesh essences. These blood and flesh essences had a terrifying effect on Wu Yu's immortal body. This surprised Wu Yu. The energy contained in these blood and flesh essences and the ancient connotation of the Tao could greatly improve his enlightenment. He originally thought that these blood stains had existed for a long time and might not have much effect, but now it seems that he thought too much. The improvement brought to him by the sea of blood will be greater than that in the ancient demon world. Unfortunately, these blood stains do not contain any memory of the dead emperor. It seems that his memory has been lost over the endless years, or it is because of these bloodstains that the emperor is left with only these bloodstains. However, the Dao contained in these bloodstains and the vast amount of blood and flesh essence in them are enough to make Wu Yu reach a higher level in the realm of Dao. There should be no danger in this place. There is such a big commotion. If there is any danger, it should have come out long ago. Wu Yu swallowed and absorbed all the bloodstains, and then knew that it would be best for him to realize the Dao now, which is a good time for him to break through. Next, he ran into the fusion tower by himself and asked Nanshan Wanjiao to guard outside for a while. This place was extremely boring for him, but Nanshan Wanjiao also knew that Wu Yu was at a critical moment of breakthrough and improvement, so he would naturally not make any trouble. Wu Yu's last path is the path of devouring. Now he is the 8 realms immortal lord. As long as he integrates the ancient immortal patterns of the last devouring path into the immortal world core, he can reach the peak of perfection and step into the peak of the realm master realm. As for the specific combat power, it will naturally undergo a qualitative change. After all, this is directly stepping into the peak. In the floating life tower, 1,000 years passed in a flash. The perception and flesh and blood essence contained in the sea of blood were all absorbed by Wu Yu. The immortal world core was completely integrated into the 9 ancient immortal patterns, allowing Wu Yu to finally reach the perfection of the realm master realm. And the physical world realm has also been endlessly tempered by the infinite flesh and blood essence contained in the blood, making it reach the realm of perfection. Now Wu Yu can be said to be a double 9 realms immortal lord, and has reached the peak level of the realm master realm. Other ordinary 9 realms immortal lords are almost a world apart from Wu Yu. It seems that these emperor demon corpses are also of great use to me, even more than for other demon gods. And this pendant seems to have the effect of finding emperor demon corpses, which is really a surprise. Wu Yu finally broke through successfully and completely refined and absorbed the sea of blood. After coming out of the floating life tower, there was almost no change in the dark forest, but Nanshan Wanjiao was bored to death. Wu Yu had been in the floating life tower for 1,000 years, but there was no beauty to accompany him. This life was extremely boring for him. Of course, if there was a beauty to accompany him, I'm afraid it wouldn't matter if he waited another 1,000 years. After coming out, Wu Yu observed the 2 pendants and found that the 2 pendants really had no reaction. It seems that there is no blood of the immortal emperor demon in this dark forest. Putting away the pendant, Wu Yu knew that this time the harvest was not small, and in addition to him, Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi would definitely have a harvest. Wu Yu is now a little swollen after swallowing, and this time the perception is not small, suitable for inheriting to Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi. I know, come on. Nanshan Wanjiao acted in a wretched manner, closed his eyes and prepared to enjoy it. Yezixi, who was standing by, wanted to slap him. How could there be such a shameless person in the world? Wu Yu was used to Nanshan Wanjiao's behavior. Every time he gave him the inheritance insight, this guy looked like he was dying and in heaven, making people want to hit him. Wu Yu didn't say much, and directly inherited the insight he had just obtained from the ancient bloodstain to Nanshan Wanjiao in a rough way. Ah! Cool, cool, cool. Nanshan Wanjiao closed his eyes and shouted. Yezixi, who was standing by, finally couldn't help it and kicked him directly, kicking him away with a look of disgust. Next was Yezixi. No matter what, Wu Yu had gained a lot this time, but he didn't know what kind of improvement these insights would bring to the 2 of them. Sorry, I still have a headache and can't write the 2nd chapter. However, I owe 5 chapters and will start working hard to return them tomorrow. I must do better next week. I worked very hard today. Alas, I guess it's the change of seasons. I feel a little uncomfortable, I caught a cold, and I can't concentrate.